So I'm just gonna raw dog it today. Well, like always. Well, when I use this. Anyway. So I'm just gonna read this. This is the OnlyFans thing. I assume I put some kind of indicator in the description. Well, description, but also like the actual title. So, thank you to everyone for making your voices heard. We have secured assurances necessary to support our diverse creator community and have suspended the planned October 1st policy change. OnlyFans stands for inclusion. We will continue to provide a home for all creators. Okay, so they seem to reverse their what they were going to change, which was a ban on adult content on their platform. They secured the insurances necessary. It's a lot of speculation. There's a lot that one can speculate about that statement. Because we were already in speculation on what they were trying to do, venture into more of a general conglomerate type of thing with big companies. What I'm saying is getting a kind of a higher evaluation, and probably much like a lot of venture capital, just kind of going in all these different pots and accumulating to get a bigger valuation in a general sense. So yes, a giant conglomerate. Every company that's really business. I mean, there's a lot of companies there are companies that aren't, and some that are. And this one, it's all about what a company stands for, and this is one of those companies. Of course, that's always an opportunity. You got the band together, and you guys are the band, and eventually, maybe the lead singer wants to go off and do a solo, and get an even bigger pot. So, this is pretty common, and they had a change through. I don't know if people were going to different competitors immediately. I know that a lot of people, it was a hot topic. Everyone was talking about it, and it seemed like people were talking about it, including yours truly, and there really wasn't a lot of support for this decision. Most people, well, a lot of people, certainly in terms of what they probably heard, mostly considered a negative reaction of their decisions, and so they reversed it. Or they kind of, the goal kind of switch. They kind of switch gears. Like, okay, so let's secure whatever we have and go from there. Like, so I don't know what this means. Like, I'm actually curious to see what happens now, because I know that they're now like, okay, we're not going to change that. We're not going to become. I mean, I was going to mention Tumblr, but I mean, it's not. It would be similar, but I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't really know what's like. What would they? It's just a lot of speculation, and based on that statement, it's like there's a lot you can speculate from that. That's why I don't know. Is this the last thing we're going to hear about this? I'm sure we're going to have a follow statement. Once people kind of catch on, there's still people who are probably making their rounds of, a lot of people wrote articles, a lot of articles are read, there's a lot of things I read about this stuff. And the big charade, and now, at least in terms of adult content being on the platform, that seems to, okay, so we are secure now. We can't lose our assets there. We're going to keep that in the pot. Now what? I don't know if they secure their assets or they're just content right now. Like, that's the question, are they content, or are they securing their assets enough to do all this? I mean, I don't know. Is it I don't know. There's a lot of speculation. I'm not really sure. But I'm sure it'd be a really cool movie or a short film about that. I would love to see some kind of get an idea of what exactly. I would love to know what happened. Like what happened? Like what went wrong? Is it not worth it to take this risk? I don't know. But how I feel. Like I'm happy that people are going to continue to be able to have this platform. I've said this that this was great for sex workers. This was great for everybody because this means that we all can come together. I know that it's mostly known as an adult, a website for adult content, but it's a place where, as that continues to grow in a social way, more people are going on OnlyFans for other things, and it can be known as a site for that, but also a site for other things. And at least I grasped that. And apparently they need to catch up because I didn't realize just how big that was. I mean, most people know it as an adult website. I understand it to be that, but also other things. But that's not what most people coming across that would think. So they maybe in a way, in a sense, they kind of realize this for themselves. And it's really, it's something to be said about looking at a business from the inside. It's interesting looking at business from the outside, and vice versa. I've said I'm a pro wrestling fan, and this is very similar in that we can have various different ideas and what makes what's what they say good for business from the inside of that building, those places, and the corporation, the people who are making these wrestling shows, from the fans, from the people who watch your product. And there's always like a bit of a struggle because it's all about struggle of perspective. And clearly, you would think it's ridiculous. How do you not know? Like, one of the things that's kind of fascinating about OnlyFans and this decision is everyone looking at this and looking at their decision was like, there's something kind of severely absurd about that, because, and I've said this in my videos, like, even though I'm aware that they use it for different things, that myself, much like probably OnlyFans, I didn't realize just how much people associate that with adult content. Now that's important because it's not about it being associated with adult content. It's about that it's associated with one thing. And you're about to throw out that one thing. As much money as you're making out of that one thing, it's interesting that you didn't take that into account. You didn't consider that, maybe this venture wasn't a good plan, at least as far as a plan in which you, in hopes of gaining some kind of more capital out of this. And much like those producers within pro entertainment, pro wrestling, we're all in pro entertainment, but pro wrestling, those people who are looking into making more, I guess, they want their business to grow, right? They want their business to grow, and then when they get bigger, a larger fan base, and just not realizing how important something that made you guys, it's not that it just made you money, but it. And again, like they talked about how this was something that was pushed by the banks. I think the CEO talked about how he made a statement that this is all because the banks. Pressure from the banks is something I speculate. Well, that was kind of there. I mean, and why in that in terms of how general conglomerates. And when I mean general, meaning generally serving conglomerates could feel about something like an adult kind of site like OnlyFans, or at least more associated. It's not. I understand that OnlyFans isn't necessarily, that's how they make, this is how the internet worked, baby. The internet wouldn't be where it is without adult content. In fact, you can think, and as well as the Old West, the sex is such a primary and asset to human life that you can thank a lot of the Old West on the gals of the West, because a lot of those places, they really kind of populated because you had these sex services. If you know what I'm talking about, if you know what I'm talking about. If you know that kind of history, and it's consistent, and it's like depending on how society feels, they always want to they use it and then they want to throw it away. And I think I don't know. This is the thing about being in the inside. It's like they felt that they were secured to that they could just kind of throw out these adult content creators and not realizing that people were on board with this. They didn't realize that people aren't, they. I don't know what they were thinking. That's the thing. It was all speculation. I don't want to accuse them of thinking something that they probably weren't. I want to give them the benefit because they did make this platform. Well, they did benefit from these content creators. Maybe that's not what they made the site for, but it definitely became that. And it's interesting. This whole decision. But like going back to everyone's reaction to this, is something that they probably pay attention to that's really relevant when that looking inside from the outside, or being in the inside look and not realizing what's on the outside, is people immediately they were all collectively realizing how ridiculous, how far out this is, this decision, because they realized from the outside looking in that this is what made the donuts, this is what made the business kind of flow here, and to take that out, it's absurd. And I mentioned a little bit of Tumblr because that's an example a lot of people used, and apparently they were listening because maybe they didn't realize it. Like, man, it's more risk than I thought. Hell, and making my reaction or my commentary on it to that decision, I even wrote a comment like I didn't realize how big that side of that was. I mean, I knew it was huge. I didn't know that it was so much of a primary aspect that they absolutely couldn't. And I even mentioned about like how like they could benefit by having some kind of separation, because as far as the sex workers, maybe there's a lot of precipitation, and then there could be competitors. And I mentioned that competitors can kind of come on the surface and take advantage of that. That's what I mean by it. I don't mean like it's good for everyone. I just mean like there's some silver lining that can happen out of this, and most things really. Well, I mean some things. I'm not gonna be so strong on that because so many things. What they shot themselves in the foot with their decisions, and everyone realized what that is it's interesting. Yeah, I had a point. I think I forgot my point. I tend to do that. I forget things. Well, what I was saying is that that they were making such a quote-unquote bonehead idea, and that people saw it quickly. They realized what was happening. They realized that they didn't understand that. What was I going to say? It's something to do with how it's all about perspective, right? Like, how finite that side of that content was, or how important that was to the site. Anyway, maybe that was it. Maybe that's all I was trying to say. Maybe we'll put it on the screen somewhere. Alright, I'm not going to harp on it too much. So, yeah, what I was going to say. I was talking about how, in terms of, because this isn't, I wonder if we're going to hear more things out of this, is this a decision out of content? Is this, like, whatever we do that we can't separate this content. Now, here's another thing. Here's something interesting. Perspective. I wonder if there's a lot of bitterness from this reverse. Like, I'm glad they did it, and bitterness, it can wear off. And I mean from the perspective of adult content creators, like, I wonder if there's a lot of bitterness in this. Like, I can imagine that even though they reverse the decision, it doesn't feel good. It's not a good feeling. It's good in that we have because this is a response out. They're making a decision, and this is something that we can definitely will say that because of the backlash that they're reversing it. And again, like the pressure from the bank, so you don't want to assume the way people went about this, like, maybe they didn't want to do this, but, I don't know. Like, I know it's easy to kind of go like, well, this is a business. I mean, come on, buddy, come on. And I get that, but still, I don't know. I just don't want to. I don't want to pass judgment when I don't know. I don't know what's happening in those buildings. I don't know. I'm not in those meetings. I'm not going to just assume anything. But I will speculate. But I'm not going to assume anything. And what I mean by that is that this is something that is consistent with adult content creators is dealing with this, and people who deal in sex. It's gotta be a weird feeling, like, hopefully there's a useness to it all, so people don't feel that bad that, that they don't. But I think a lot of people really, really appreciate what OnlyFans was doing. It feels like I've heard that people, there are people offended, who were offended by their decisions and reversing it, and you're not really sure in what way, because now they can't make a bunch of money now, so now you're going to take us back now? You're going to take us back now that you can't make any money? Cool. But now, I'm not going to forget that. I'm not going to forget that you were just going to toss us aside over some money. And this is something that's true, and this is a narrative that you see when it comes to adult content creators, when it comes to people who deal in sex, is people just kind of use them and toss them aside. They benefit. This is much like the internet. The internet wouldn't be where it was without the adult industry, without the sex industry. And people are so quick to toss them aside. And if you want to bring up, as far as illegal content, again, I've said this before, that entry fee, everyone is dealing with this thing, all right? Anyone from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everyone is dealing with this stuff, as far as illegal content. That's not necessarily the sex industry stuff. It's everyone's problem. It's just so easy to look at that, because the weird thing about porn, I've heard people say things like, there's a lot of like misunderstanding about, because I've said this before, people want to feel like they're doing the right thing. This is Gryffindor territory. The places like YouTube, it was Hufflepuff. Then you had a lot of Slytherin territories with a mix of like Ravenclaw, because people want to feel smart, but people want to feel like they're on top of the resources. And people feeling like they want to be on top of the resources, but also being clever. Those things tend to merge, and you're not really sure what you're hearing. You're not hearing someone like someone who's all, because there's a lot of people who want to feel like you're being smart by something about being mean and being, because you feel like you're being logical, you're being objective. So there's something, people feel like it goes hand in hand with being cruel. And now you have a lot of Gryffindor kind of territory, and you don't want to have too much of any of the houses, because Gryffindors, they're really they're that chivalrous side of them, that side that wants to do the right thing. And they're a Gryffindor king is it's a very righteous king. It's a king that wants to feel like they're righteous and that they're doing the right thing. And when you throw in ethics and morality in it gets real mixed. It's a weird mix when it comes to that sort of thing. I'm sorry if you're using Harry Potter. I just like using it because it's fun. But and also a short-term language that is fun to use. I know I've said that I criticize short-term language because short-term language is very frivolous, and if you want to use short-term language, I like using Harry Potter analogies because you can. There's a lot of, weirdly enough, there's a lot of leg room in there. There's a lot you can do. Hell, Slytherin is responsible for the Harry Potter series. If the writer of the Harry Potter series is anything like she comes off, I would say she's probably Slytherin, and she, even though being a Slytherin, she understands she's a Slytherin that's able to write the Harry Potter series. Maybe it's not a coincidence that my favorite character, one of the favorite characters in there of mine, is Snape, who was a Slytherin. Just saying that things are, colors have there's tempers and colors. So, and this is Gryffindor territory. I mean, people want to feel like they're doing the right thing. People want to be righteous. And when it comes to the sex industry, when it comes to sex in general, I think with the righteous and sex don't really mix. Have you ever heard someone try to get through Scott Pilgrim and not get so much into the minutia of the whole Scott dating? And I understand that people don't really understand context of. There's a lost context somewhere where people don't understand. They're mixing things up. It's like people who misunderstand the whole thing with Indiana Jones and what was her Lauren, whatever his girlfriend, and girlfriend meaning love interest in the first Raiders of the Lost Ark. That when she goes on about how it was wrong and you knew it, I think people are missing out on the context. It's not really about the difference in ages, whatever. It's more to do with the fact that Indiana Jones took advantage of the fact that she doesn't understand that Indiana Jones is an adventurer and is kind of a player. So what he does is he gets into these relationships and he just kind of leaves women. And the taking advantage part is the fact that she was in love for the first in her life, and her father was was a professor. It was his professor, so there's an ethical thing there. It wasn't really about that if you understand how things worked in that space in terms of what was sanctionable, what wasn't. It wasn't that. So when people watch stuff like this, they immediately, because of the righteousness and the morale thing, they completely misunderstand what that conversation is about. Despite them hearing things like, I was you know it, and it was wrong. It wasn't because he was sick, he was like gross for doing it. It was that it was wrong that he took advantage of someone who is not who's never been in those experiences. I mean, people's experience differentiate, and being a number doesn't mean people know your experiences. I mean, there's a lot of things you can learn out there that will point to this. That people who know. I mean, have you ever heard of people like Tracy Lords? You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's not that simple. What I'm trying to say is, when it comes to morality and ethics, people go really hardcore into it, and they're not able to see. Things can get mixed. They don't really understand a lot of context of things. And like, do you think that when they made Scott Pilgrim that they were like, we're being edgy, or do you think that they just didn't have that mindset like you guys? Like, I get it. Like, nothing, cultures are being cultivated, being whether you're born into it or you learn, or in your first kind of steps into social society, that this is the things you got to pick up. And you're going hardcore into it, and you got these words, these loaded languages, like people like. There's a lot of loaded language. There's this grand use of loaded language, very, very emotionally impactful language that people like to use and throw at each other. And there's this line that like where people start to do that, and maybe it's just different. Maybe it's not that wrong, right, or whatever. It's just different, of course. Nothing is right or wrong. Everything is malleable. Nothing objectively meaningless. I get it. So, yeah. But this is relevant to this because this is all a part of that. If we talk about the fact that the internet is an entropy kind of playground, and there's just so many, and when it comes to sex, when you're going at the sex industry and you're trying to figure out where the line is and all that kind of stuff, you got to be careful in who you step on. And I know in the name of doing the right thing, in the name of being righteous, and as long as you're on this journey, that you want to be able to, you don't want to be blind to the things that are happening around you. You want to pay attention to people and the way they think. I brought little minute things like movies and stuff like that because I think all that's important. It's the way people react to those things. I watch how people react to things like that because I go into it with my experience with those films and I know what they're saying. It's like, have you ever seen people react to like the Seinfeld episode? There's these people they brought in for this channel, and they reacted to the Seinfeld a couple episodes, and the reaction, the very immediate reaction, because one, they didn't realize they don't understand. They're ignorant, but they're also like they're cultivated. They are, and honestly, to be very fair to those people, to those reactors, that in the context, the question is, watch these episodes of Seinfeld, and are they do they hold up, right? And do they hold up into the public sort of ethics and morality thing? Does it hold up to that? And that is wibbly wobbly, right? We don't know what everyone is kind of wibbly wobbly on that stuff. So to be fair, because of that, it's different if you ask them that. If they watch this episode on their own, it's different than if they watch this publicly. If they're told to look out for this stuff, and you question whether or not this will be, and it's wibbly wobbly. And the dislike ratio was quite revealing, because people who are watching that stuff aren't a lot of those people who watch a lot of them who watch that reaction are people who watch Seinfeld. And so that dislike ratio is very revealing. Now look, this is not about the so-called generation thing. There's no such thing as generations, honestly. These things don't exist. They mostly are, this is a marketing thing. So this is not about that, because everyone's really playing this game. It's all a game. It's a social game. And it can be a very, very dangerous game to play. But all of this stuff is encompassed, and then when we talk about sex, it gets into this territory where sex, I mean, this is what I wanted to say. This is where I was getting at. The term porn, or porno, but the term porn, people need to broaden their palate when it comes to this word. Because this word there's too many negative. This is like being black in America. There's this thing about being African American or black in America where the association with being black, there's these negative things. Being black is not in itself a culture. There's that. There's a culture, and then there's your skin tone. What that means, it's too broad. Like, people always like, well, I've heard people make the excuse of like, because there's I mean, even though it's a Gryffindor territory, there's a lot of Hufflepuffs who watch this stuff and watch the decision is like, I don't know, maybe they want to stay away from the illegal stuff. Maybe they don't want to be associated with this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, porn has a lot of things, a lot of problematic stuff. Porn in itself is not problematic, whatever you want to call it, problematic. Porn is a broad term. It's just a kind of photography. That's it. It's a media genre. It's not media. Well, it's a media affiliate. It's not a media genre. It's a media affiliate. I mean, much like you wouldn't say this about other things, right? Like, you wouldn't say this. What's a good example? Like, taking the term, you wouldn't associate something like violence, something like violent films or comedy films, right? You wouldn't associate, just because it's comedy, being inherently problematic, right? You're just like, yeah, but there's a lot of inappropriate jokes, or there's a lot of inappropriate violence and stuff like that. You wouldn't associate with the word, action genre or comedy genre. Porn is the same way. Porn is actually even more broader than that. At least with porn, I mean, comedy and action is broad as well, but in terms of porn, in those ways, it's broad. It's not to media associate porn with this. It's not like that. Porn is, they put it in a box, and it's a broad. There's so much kind of porn out there. Porn is not. It's just a style. It's an affiliate style. It's I'm shooting photography, or I'm shooting photography. I'm creating some kind of media in which sex is just the depiction. That's all it is. It's just sexual depiction, explicit sexual depiction. And I know the definition is like, exclusive for masturbation. I will say, maybe, I guess. Even that's broad. I don't even know why we necessarily have to make it for that. Like, I don't know why you have to necessarily make porn exclusive for sexual pleasure. Because you don't have to use it in that way. You know what I mean? But we have, even in the definition, we should have brought it, because that's not used. I'm telling you, that's not how it's always used. People use it for different ways. But I've heard people make the excuses of this, and it's like, look, the same thing with everything else. Like, things, just because the problem is that people's problem with the common clay, the problem with the language and culture is that they associate these things and they kind of put them in a bind. They're not able to expand what those things mean, what they generally should mean. You should always go from a general point because that's, and then kind of go into contextual, right? They give specifics to what's there's like I've heard people give complaints about that there's in porn there's R's and there's I don't have a parallel word for it, but what I'm saying, like violent, we'll say violent porn and stuff like that. But they always put it in the same category. There's soft core, there's hardcore, there's all these different kind of things here. We don't have to associate. It's like I get like what comes with this means that there's so many different possibilities. But again, this is something that all these other media platforms are dealing with. It's not just that. It's just we make it so easy because they're doing explicit thing, and that inherently is the illegal stuff. So we associate them, but those aren't. I get it. I understand. It's easy to do, but it's not. That's something that we're all dealing with. Okay. And try to understand context. Like try to understand what, like, when you're watching some of this stuff, that you're not seeing what you think you're seeing. But I get it. People want to feel like they're doing the right thing, and I hope there's a balance, man. I mean, I know we're in Gryffindor territory. I hope that we get some Ravenclaws to come in there and try to kind of give it a little bit of broad spectrum. Like, I don't know. We just need some more nuance in all. I feel like everyone is just so into trying to do the right thing, and it just gets mixed up, and that's what this is all about, really. I mean, honestly, it's just that porn, sex industry, rock, it's all going to end up having to deal with this, unfortunately, because sex, I've said this before, because sex is just so, it's so important. I was gonna say primary, something to do with something so finite, something so immediate, something so important, and not important, not like in a general sense, but like necessary, and for a species to be a species, that it's going to be controversial, or it's likely to, because of the natures of kind of what they call culture wars. Well, whatever the consensus are, that there's a little bit of wibbly-wobbly with whatever that solidarity is. This is all about solidarities. This is about coming together. And it takes, I understand that people are trying to, we put away the Weinsteins and the Cosbys, and we have a lot of the problems with the police, and a lot of sexual misconduct out there that's revealing because of the technology, and so something is different. It's weird. I don't know what it is about the brain, but like when the brain is in contact with parasocial things like the internet, I don't know if there's something about the brain that reacts differently to it. Because like there's a difference between like interacting with people offline than there is, like the battle is, a lot of this is online, you know what I mean? Like people are not reacting to something that they were in contact with in person. Like there wasn't like a town hall or something where people got to ask questions. This is the internet. We are all interacting through this internet thing. And I wonder if that's like, because it's parasocial, like one of the things that's weird about people's reaction to the comment section, like on YouTube, is I understand like when you're introduced to YouTube, like when being introduced to YouTube, I understand when I look at the comment section that is like it's anonymous, it's incidental, right? Because you're now you're conducting something which is going out to all these different people that have the freedom to just anonymously just say what they like. People will just generally type whatever they can have in their mind just because they can, right? That's the fun, is that people can have the freedom to just say what they want. With all these different backgrounds and experience differentials, it's incidental. So it's interesting that people have this interest, that kind of an emotional take on comments. Like people will like do these like celebrities reacting to mean comments, and it's like, why? Mean comments, but people can randomly write what they want. Didn't you kind of just write random stuff just because you can? Like, I think what happened is that the internet became like real. Like, before it was just like this this was like this, it was like this world that was just digital and it wasn't real. Now it's all like real. Like, people, we're all just on the internet and we're just like in these wars, but it's like digital based. It's not like we're not in these actual space. Like, we're not in this space together. We're just kind of talking. Because people are generally like it's a little different interact with people in person. I think the internet, I don't know what it is about the brain. I mean, I know that we're basically apes. We're just kind of impressive, at least compared, I guess. I don't know, that's perspective. I mean, if we're the only things, as far as we can see, it's all about perspective. Maybe we should get out of our ass, you know? Like, maybe we're not that special. Maybe we're not special even a little bit. I mean, we definitely aren't. Nothing really is, but I even know special is kind of a contextual thing. Nothing really is, but in context, maybe. But that being said, I mean, we are just apes. I mean, it's already unhealthy for us to multitask. Like, our brains don't really do that very well already. So to do like the internet stuff, I don't know. There's something about I don't know what it is, but like doing things online makes it easy, but also, I mean, on the one hand, it makes things change more rapidly because of us taking it in. It's just weird. I don't know. And again, this is all relevant. They made their decisions and they processed that decision and they announced it online. People, rebuked that through online for the most part, with articles and comments and all that stuff through online. They were reversing the decision because of the reaction online. So this is just like an online thing. Nothing really happened. Something was, and then we changed it. Or not in itself. They just made a decision, and the basis maybe because for the most part people's reaction to their decision, or at least where the money was going. Okay. I did not expect this thing to be. Who cares? Fuck. Okay. Anyway. What else? Shit. I did not mean to turn on that mode. I have a mode like those who might notice, like I kind of start a little slow, and then I get a little into my little thing, and I just go and go and go, and I don't know when to stop. I got the spider web thing kind of going on. Just a bunch of spiders, just like webs and all this stuff going around and connecting here and there. I don't know. Aren't I a mess? Neck to the fried bone, neck to the... Alright, I'm just being random now. Okay. I don't know how to end this thing, so I just will end it. I'm John Turbo, Black Clouds Media, and thank you.